I've been so long working away on the 12th house that going back to, I guess it just shifts more to working with the school, with the class, with the group, with groups, than doing so much alone work, writing and teaching and stuff. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to back up. Do I back up here? Yes, I back up here. So as we're going back to this, I want to show you some things that happen with the I Ching and the I Ching symbolism. My Saturn is in the I Ching hexagram, the 18th. Let me pull this in. It's in the hexagram, work on what has been spoiled. And the, I'm just going to pull it, I have it on my other screen here, so I'm just going to get them all there. Okay, work on what's spoiled. I got to pull the interpretations up. So I'm just going to show you, my natal, I can read the natal position. It's 18 degrees, line 2. It stayed in line 2 until 1949, about the time my brother was born. And then my parents had split up and had to get back together again. They had to work on what was spoiled. They got back together, but it went through into line 3 where it stays in hexagram, in that work on what is spoiled. It's still in line 3. Line 3 doesn't get out of there until 2006. Okay, so that's from, sorry, just going to back up. So 2006, from 1949 to 2006, so that's 57 years in the one line, 1 degree of the zodiac. So that hexagram, this hexagram working with spoiled Saturn's in that my whole life, unless I live to 95 or 94, 95, then it might go into the well, the penetrating depth. You know, but here it's working on what has been spoiled. I really do feel my work with astrology. Astrology has been spoiled by a lot of people. It's been misused, been used in so many different techniques and different ways. So everybody's got a different technique for everything. And people lost the basic foundations of the houses, the signs, the planets, the rulerships. They've lost their perspective on how it all comes together. So I've always felt I've been working on the things that have been spoiled, trying to fix this. Oh, I got to fix this. The trouble is, what that means is, as soon as they say, oh, that's wrong, I mean, I got to work on it. I see how it's differently. My Mercury Mars sees what's different, so that's different, that's wrong. That means I'm going to do thousands of hours of work to prove that that there's a better way or a clearer way around it. So, and even with the marriages, I'm friends with most of my ex-wives, and my sons grown up. But so there was a lot of things that were spoiled that had to be fixed that I worked on. But probably they had to be spoiled first before they had to be worked on. But even at it, my relationship with Dad was really difficult. And before he died, we turned things around. And I spent a little time with him, about a year. Well, as he got older, he became nicer, and we worked out our guilts and angers and things before he died, which I was really grateful for. But this is all Saturn talk, right? Father. Being father, the shadow of the 12th house. So I'm going to read this hexagram 18 and the line 2, which was up to 49, and then up to 2006, and line 3 till 2006, and then it goes back into line 2 again, and then into line 1. So that's this hexagram and those 3 lines. This is the story of my life. There's other hexagrams working inside of this that it goes through. It goes through. Peace goes through, sorry, I should remember all the numbers, I don't. Here. Yeah, peace goes through the taming power of the great, through the sub-hexagram on the Penman level. And then at some point, no, it stays in the 26 line 1 in this hexagram working with them spoiled for the same time as it spends in the line 3, but it stays in line 3 of the first hexagram, but on this hexagram 26, work on the taming power of the great, the staying power to hold on and keep working at something. That stayed on 2, 3, 1, 2, all 6 lines, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, went back through them all again. And it didn't change that hexagram until 2012, when I went back into peace, in the hexagram of peace again. And then yeah, and then it will go back into, it goes back into the hexagram of treading conduct later on from 23 on. It changes again. So as the line in the first level changes, the hexagram on the second level changes. And then there's the hexagram spinning around quite quickly on those are the, it's the 1 year hexagrams, this longer time periods now, but each one is a sixth of the other one, you know, so they go like national, federal, provincial, municipal governments, you know, or hours, minutes, and seconds. There's 3 layers, and each one has its own relevance. But I'm going to read, I just go through this, I'll pull this up, where is it here? Here, okay. So, here we go. 2 screens, I can get them together, but only one screen is recording, so I'm gonna have to pull this over one at a time. Okay, this is the title of my book, The I Ching, The Sequence of Change, an Astrology Perspective. There's 4 books, 1 on each season, of the hexagrams for each season. Okay, now I wonder if I can just, I think, yes, okay, good, we'll do this. So this is the hexagram, can we pull this up a bit bigger? Yes, work on what has been spoiled. The mountain above, the wind and the wood below. That's the image. And it has a thing of the sequences, the phase of the sequence. I'm not going to get into that now. The mountain above, the wind below. Trees at the foot of the mountain. Keeping still above, gentle penetration below. Sensitive words will have a healing effect. Gentleness may not move the mountain, but it will be able to influence it. The idea is that the wind is blowing through the bottom of the mountain. At the bottom of the mountain, everything falls down, everything accumulates, all the junk that's piled falls off the mountain and is down at the bottom of the mountain. And this is the work that has to be spoiled. That's been spoiled. How do we fix that? How do we make the path? How do we clear this out? We have to move these things, fix these things. That was the old symbol in China about this hexagram. The image, movement at the foot of the mountain. Clear a path, cut the weeds, move the fallen trees and stones. Change is imminent. Next one. Okay, we'll pull it up. It is time to overcome inertia. To prepare the way is noble indeed. Well, this preparing the way and overcoming inertia, for my Saturn, I've always worked, oh, that's not right, I'm gonna have to fix this. Oh, I have to make my own chart farm. Oh, I'm gonna have to study how the degrees fit the next one. I have to make these 1,000 graphics to fit this in and do it. To get everything ready to prepare the way so that you're overcoming the inertia. But boy, when inertia gets overcome, what a great feeling. But really, my Saturn, my working, that's part of my work ethic, really. It's worth taking this on to overcome something's dead-ended, astrology stuck somewhere. It's just going on the same level of consciousness when it's meant to be something so much more glorious. It's worth working on it to change it. You know, 50 years later, I'm still just working on trying to express it better so it can be a little bit better than where it was when I started from. I mean, the astrology is there. The understanding of it and the use of it just gets measured out, judging everything in the houses. They work with the houses with worldly affairs. Don't get up into the signs and the attitudes and the more spiritual sides that come through astrology. There's a nice book, 2 books by Dane Rudhyar talking about this. One was called, the main one, the philosophical one, which is difficult to read because it's very tedious, is The Planetarization of Consciousness. But he did a second book that has the same thing, but it does similar things, but it's really doesn't explain it. It's not as philosophical, but it really explains it well. It's easy to read. New Mansions for New Men. He goes through the planetarization of consciousness and evolving your consciousness as you go through the houses, through the signs, through the planets, to developing your understanding in life. Okay, those would be available on the web. You might be able to find places where you can download them for free even. So, you have to search. I don't have the links for them. I've always taught, think it through for yourself, work it through, and then you'll see what other people are saying. Then you'll know, and you'll see there's something to learn for everybody. But most people do a lot of people have one good thing, and then there's a whole bunch of eccentricities that have gone off the standard. So it's hard to find books that are consistently useful. I found it better just to teach it and you think it through for yourself. So the judgment I'm working with, but patience without, sensitivity within. To change the outer world, one must first work on oneself. The way must be prepared within. Inner determination will be needed. One will have to be conscientious. What can be said until the work is done? Within is done. No one will listen. The worthy will have nothing to say. So this is the puzzle around working on what has been spoiled, making yourself worthy to be able to work on it, being able to actually finish it. Like, wow. And to do the work within before you do the work without, that's even a bigger demand. So I found it very interesting in astrology and in my meditation to realize that somebody can have a totally different belief system, a totally different consciousness than you, and they're active in a totally different way, opposing everything that you live, and their way of living is just as valid as yours. It will have its own repercussions, it has its own things. Yours will have its own repercussions, and it's hard to say whether one is more deserving on the planet or not. Oh. Okay, so this is a family relationship, so I'm not going to go into that so much. I'm going to go down at the pentans. Care with the garden. One waits and measures the effect of the wind on the crops. If there is damage, one must repair what one can. Remain attentive to the implications. One cannot simply leave everything to nature and rest content. Results will improve if one helps. So just the idea of working on a garden is a good symbol. You got to get rid of the weeds. You got to work on things to make it better, or the weeds will take it over. Has astrology gone to the weeds? Not completely. Okay, so now it starts in the hexagram in line 2. So I'm just going to head to line 2. For the first to 49, first 3 years of my life, it was in the line 2. So that's really young. My parents were splitting up. One tends to do more than one should. One overreacts to a little encouragement. Patience is lacking. Satisfaction will prove evasive. They were very insecure years. Strong indulgence, firm decisions. Unless one gives freely, there will be no peace. Well, when I was there, it was a young time, but I'm sure my dad, these problems were going on. This is just post-war scenarios, and marriages were stormy. And then the third one, frivolous words, humiliation, inconsiderate actions will make matters worse. So my folks were apart again. They weren't really together until by the time this period finished, a year or two after that, we started school, and I started running across other authority figures, and it worked better. But here's the one, 9 in the 3rd place. It's there from 1949 to 2006. Okay, so we're there for 57 years. My Saturn, work on what has been spoiled. Spontaneous initiative. One sees, one laughs, one acts. Avoid overindulgence and progress will be made. Well, I do get really alone and work a lot, but I have had periods where I overindulged in the work, and the work has been spoiled and things happen. So I can relate to this. I mean, you can relate to this from any planet, any planet. It's this degree of the zodiac. So this is 8 to 9 degrees of Leo. Creative restraint will bring honor and respect. To push too far would be folly. I think I do that all the time, push too far. 9 in the 3rd place. Determined to make improvements, one sits on one's own doorstep. One will help others if the need arises, good fortune. Well, to me, the one sits on one's own doorstep. I've been involved in different groups now, but in the end, I don't fit in. I just end up being at my own doorstep, working on my own thing, keep the work going. Even though I've been influenced by the groups, I have trouble participating, functioning, having my intensity function in it. So this attitude, I can see these attitudes going on. That's going through all my school years. And then that's only the first part of it. Goes up until when it went retrograde. Just wait the retrograde date. Oh, here we go. Retrograde around 2083. Okay.